Oh, hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Ask Dr. Dansinger. Dr. Dansinger holds office hours every single Monday for all of your questions about artery health and diabetes reversal, everything you need to know about reducing inflammation in your body. If you are in New York, if you're in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Virginia, or Florida, his services are actually covered by Medicare and Medicare PPO. Medicare Advantage PPO plans. So you can go to diabetesreversalpartners.com for more information on that. Or you can join also our live in studio audience and get your questions answered. Info at padhelp.org. But we have so many questions that are coming in right now, Dr. Dansinger. But first, I want to ask you about the Super Bowl. I don't know if you watched, but it seemed like for the very first time, it wasn't ridden with all of the unhealthy foods. I mean, there were a few in there, but I think this was the first Super Bowl where I didn't see a lot of the unhealthy foods represented. I mean, there were a lot of digital, software companies and apps and things like that. What about you? What did you see?
Well, Kim, you make a good point about that. And there may be a trend toward less of the junk food stuff. What I
Mhm.
would really like to see is, um, America's role models, sports figures, musicians, household names, using their power and their fame for good. I really dislike any situations where I'm seeing famous people who make an impact, especially on children, using their fame to promote junk food. So hopefully the trend will continue and we'll see less and less of those types of commercials.
Yeah, there are a lot of the not necessarily traditional celebrities, but you have the new age of influencers that just post and post and post and post lots of selfies and videos about their life or whatever they're doing or their opinions, and they're gaining lots and lots of followers. And then brands come to them and say, "Hey, promote this product or promote that product." And I'm seeing a lot of that with the people that um, do a lot of cooking at home. They're not dietitians, they're not nutritionists, they're just random people cooking at home, and they get paid for by different brands to promote their products as supposedly healthier. Especially there's one that she talks about, "Oh, I'm all about just three simple ingredients or two simple ingredients," but then the ingredients aren't really that healthy. And it's so frustrating to me. But
People are thirsty and hungry for information that inspires them to live their best life, and hopefully we'll see more and more good science, good, responsible, true
yep.
content out there on the internet.
The one good thing that Douglas wants to be here, but he couldn't be here. He's getting blood work. He's got the vampires going before a procedure next week. And he was noticing that the cereal commercials, he noticed that Raisin Bran is suddenly coming out and saying how healthy it is. But what's interesting in contrast is Cheerios has come out and is no longer touting it as heart healthy. But even more than, you have General Mills and some of their other cereals saying that they're now packed with protein along with the grains.
Yeah, we've talked about that a little bit. So, I'm not a fan of cereal because it's starchy and it turns to sugar. And then, Cheerios, Cheerios, if you read the box, it sounds like the greatest. But, I would call that mediocre at best. And then, these protein packed cereals, I'm not a fan of those either. And maybe they're better than, most cereals. What you really want in a cereal is a lot of fiber and
Yeah.
very, very little carbohydrate.
Okay. So Douglas has a couple other questions here. He keeps getting conflicting advice about bananas. When can you eat bananas? How much of a banana can you eat? Do you need to pair a banana with something so that it doesn't spike your blood sugars? He's concerned because he wants to put it in a smoothie and he doesn't know if and or but.
Yeah. So a banana is a great example of a borderline food. There's other borderline foods, so there's starch and sugar in bananas, and like other fruits, all fruits have sugar in them, and you can kind of line up all the fruits if you wanted to rank them. And banana probably, spikes blood sugar more than most other fruits. Pineapples are up there, mangoes are up there. These fruits spike blood sugar more than other fruits. Yet, um, for most people with diabetes, they can enjoy fruit, one piece, two piece, even sometimes three pieces of fruit per day, and it all depends on the individual. When you pair it with protein, I do think it helps blunt that spike. So um, bananas have no role in a very low carb diet like Atkins or keto. They do have a role in what I'd call a moderate carb diet. Most of my
Yes.
patients are following a moderate carb diet, and so um, if if I had to choose between bread versus a banana, I'd favor the banana anytime. If I had to choose between berries and a banana, I would favor the berries every time. So it's a great question with a vague answer.
We did have a question. I just have to find it here about blueberries in particular. Chris B says he just heard something that talked about fermenting blueberries, making them healthier than eating them plain. Have you heard that before?
No. So I guess any fruit can be fermented. I mean, wine is fermented grapes, right? And then you can make wine or ferment any fruit, really. And so I've never heard of fermented blueberries. Would it make them healthier? Well, fermented foods are good for the intestinal bacteria. So I don't know. I think it's more of a curiosity than something that people are going to actually be going out and doing. It's an interesting question. So blueberries, I think, are a favorite of all the fruit choices. Berries, I think, are my number one recommended fruit for people who are trying to keep their carbs low and
Yeah.
are craving fruit. So
So
interesting.
Stephanie, yeah, it wasn't it. It was Stephanie P wants to know about cantaloupe. Is it something that she should avoid altogether? Or is it okay in certain portions or at certain times of the day?
So I think melons in general are pretty favorable. So I think melons would, if you were going to stack up, 20, if you could name 30 fruits, I think cantaloupe would probably be somewhere in the middle of the class. And there's sugar in melons, but and we've all had an unripe melon and been kind of disappointed. But we've also have really good ripe melons. It's kind of a roll of the dice when you cut into that melon. And um, I think water, cantaloupe is probably going to spike the blood sugar a little less than watermelon, but I think for most people, even watermelon can be okay because watermelon's mostly water, not mostly sugar. So cantaloupe's all right for most people, but um, check with your healthcare team how they feel.
Okay, so Mark D doesn't understand why he's told to avoid grapefruit. What's the issue with it? And is it the fruit itself or how it interacts with medication somehow?
Great question. So it's mainly the statin drugs like um, uh, uh, Lipitor, which is atorvastatin, or Crestor, rosuvastatin, the statin drugs that lower cholesterol. In most cases, are interact with grapefruit. Grapefruit blocks an enzyme in the liver that is needed to um, metabolize the statins, and so what it does is it keeps the drug active in your bloodstream longer. I don't really know how big of a problem that is if your body's clearing the statin drug more
Hmm.
slowly. I've never heard of anyone going to the emergency room because they had a high statin dose. I think it basically will lower your cholesterol level even more than. So people are told to avoid grapefruit, and it's kind of a shame because a grapefruit's a good choice for a fruit. That citrus fruit is pretty good. I think grapefruit juice is the bigger culprit, and so um, you could ask your doctor whether, can I enjoy half a grapefruit, once a week or something like that. It's probably not truly unsafe to do that, but the answer to the question is the grapefruit blocks an enzyme in the liver that is
Mm.
needed to properly, metabolize the statin drugs.
Okay. So I just saw this note from Heinz, who's in our live studio audience. Heinz, Mike Tyson, when did you see this commercial? Was it during the Super Bowl or was this at another time? Tell us about this.
Actually, I didn't watch the Super Bowl except the very end, but they showed commercials that were popular last night on the news, and that was one of them. And they said it was a Super Bowl commercial, and it was "Make America Healthy Again"
Oh,
commercial.
wow. Yeah, and it was about avoiding ultra processed foods.
I say ultra processed. When I read it just now online, it was processed foods, but basically the same thing.
I saw
So,
the commercial,
Did
oh,
you?
okay.
so I'm glad you brought that up. So it was a commercial featuring Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson was really making a pitch against junk food, saying that he used to eat a lot. The gist of it was that Mike Tyson used to eat a lot of junk food, and I think he was caught, felt like he was caught up in a bad cycle where he was just feeling badly, and then he was kind of, self-medicating with junk food. And the way he broke out of that cycle was to change his diet, and it showed him eating healthy foods. I can't remember if it was an apple or carrots or fruits and vegetables. So, and this was funded by Make America Healthy Again, and so that's what the commercial was. I wonder if it's online.
Yeah, I'll go look. I'm going to go look it up. That would be interesting to see, but at least someone's out there talking about it, someone with a big name. I
The
think everyone
next
knows who he
commercial
is.
after that was Pepsi.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Don't they own Dasani? So maybe they have um some value there, but I'm sure they weren't promoting water, were they?
I suspect that the commercials might differ in different parts of the country, and so maybe that was in some regions and not other. I don't know, but what I saw in the Northeast was a Pepsi commercial right after that anti-junk food commercial.
That's awesome. Great timing on that. And Carrie in the chat agreed with you. She said a friend who is a hospital pharmacist agreed with you on the grapefruit thing. It's just really about people take things to the extreme. So it's easier to just say absolutely not versus saying, yeah, it's fine to have grapefruit and then saying, well, in, small amounts, but then someone drinks a whole glass of grapefruit juice. So just don't do that unless you can control
Ask your
yourself.
doctor about it.
It's really, really important. Okay. And I think Douglas, do you have another question about protein bars? You're really concerned about snacks kind of in between your meals because you're a hungry growing boy, right, Douglas? Whoops, make sure you unmute.
Put the Mike Tyson link in the chat. But yeah,
Thank you.
it's trying to find, because somebody told me about grapefruit, told me not to have grapefruit, cantaloupe, apple. Okay. It's just
We've
crazy.
talked about the fruits though. We want to talk about the proteins, then I'll give you the video of the fruits because he already addressed those.
We heard about the protein bars, so I have protein bars, but he said he didn't think protein bars were good for us.
Oh, Dr. Dansinger, you're in trouble.
Yeah, so maybe I missed part of that, but it is true what I heard. So, yeah, I've never been a fan of protein bars really as a snack. I favor protein shakes more because whenever I see a protein bar, there's usually ingredients in the bar that I kind of object to because these bars have to be made of something. And so usually there's some ingredient in there, whether it's dates, which push the sugar so high, or a bunch of fake stuff in the bars. Usually that I have a complaint with. But did I miss some of your question or your point?
Well, he wants to know.
It's
Go
finding
ahead.
something in between meals. So, and I think that's my point with the protein bars. They were quick and easy.
Yes.
and there's, every time I do a 5K, they're all over the tables.
Yes.
So it's trying to find that I can't do a shake every time I want a little snack. So it's
Yes.
trying to find something in between meals that is healthy that'll like hold me over for the next meal.
Yeah. So it's a good point. You need what I like about protein bars is they're portable, right? They don't need to be in the refrigerator. You can carry it in your pocket or whatever. So what are some snacks like that? Well, some people might use beef jerky or turkey jerky for something like that.
Oh,
Some people some people actually
that's
have a hard-boiled egg if it's not too inconvenient for that. Some people um, bring
that,
pieces of turkey with them. I'd love other suggestions if we've got them. You're looking for a protein snack that's portable, right?
yeah, I forgot that because there you said that it was more filling, right? And especially he's a grown boy, he's out there working, building his tiny house, and he's very active, and he walks, and no dust settling underneath him. And so I love the idea of a healthy jerky. I also would hard boil a whole bunch of eggs for the week, and then I would leave them in the fridge, and then I would have, a hard boiled egg and an apple, or a hard boiled egg and some blueberries. So that's kind of what I used to do.
I saw dried edamame
Oh
beans
yeah,
or
that's a good
dried
one.
soybeans can work. Now, protein bars, it's not the worst thing, right? And so sometimes we have to, um, sometimes we have to err on the side of convenience. And
Mhm.
so I don't have a particular protein bar to recommend in favor or against, but um, so there's worse things that one can eat. Just because I would give them a B or a B minus in general doesn't. There's lots worse things, but maybe turkey jerky is the way to go if the salt isn't too high.
What
Like
about those cheese wheels, those little small, I forget what they're
Um,
called.
right. Um, I'm blanking on the name too,
Yeah.
right? But these are like 100-calorie cheese, or I've seen, like low fat mozzarella sticks, cheese sticks like that.
It's
Yeah,
Baby
just those
Bill.
are. Hi,
Yeah.
Carrie. Yeah, Baby
Baby
Bell. That's
Bill.
what they are. The little baby bells. That with, a handful of blueberries or an apple, or maybe that's when you can balance out that banana. Heinz, what do you think?
I like the protein bar stuff.
If you can find one with, I'm sure there has to be some out there that have ingredients that you recognize that don't have a bunch of fillers and things to make things stick together and all that jazz. I think I've even seen some in the cold sections. I'm gonna have to go look, but then you don't have to worry about all the extra preservatives and stuff in there. Do you have another question, Heinz?
Yes, I do. This might be
Okay.
a sore subject for some, but um, Dr. Dansinger, what's your thoughts on condiments, which I don't eat, like ketchup, mustard, mayo, relish, salad dressings other than vinegar and olive oil?
I love that question. Thank you. Were you thinking that condiment question might be a sore subject?
I know a lot of people that like to put a lot of salad dressings that
Yeah.
are mayonnaise based or whatever you want to call them, and you get a lot of people put mayonnaise on all their stuff or ketchup, and
Yeah.
I'm one that doesn't do that.
So I love the question because condiments. If you ask different people, you might get different answers on the condiments. My viewpoint is that the purpose of condiments needs to be to make healthy foods more appealing and interesting. And so, the purpose of salad dressing is to make a healthy salad more exciting and more makes you want to eat it. And so you use the least amount that you can get away with to still enjoy your food. You know, mayonnaise-based condiments, same deal. So many condiments are not really healthy when you look at the ingredients. They might have sugar and salt and all that stuff, but if you just use the small amount to make something that's otherwise healthy more appealing, so you'll eat it, then I'm all for it. So you want to limit your condiments to 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons max. If you lined up all the different condiments, you could probably rank them and say, well, mustard's healthier than ketchup, or pickles are a pretty good condiment, but I don't think of it that way. I think of, what use condiments in small amounts strategically.
So Primal Foods has a no sugar ketchup and no ingredients in there that you don't recognize. Spicy mustard, I heard, is actually pretty good. If you don't look at the ingredients, there's no sugar. Dijon mustard, right? If there, you can recognize, I think that has vinegar maybe in it. I don't know about plain mustard. Plain mustard is just mustard seed for the most part in most brands, I would think. But I think where it gets you is one of my favorites is mayo. I love mayonnaise. But you know what? I found a different option. So now I use low fat yogurt, or for me, I use the Forager yogurt, the cashew milk yogurt. And I add in, there's this organic ranch packet that has only natural spices in it that you can see which ingredients, no extra preservatives. And I pour that in the yogurt. And I use that now instead of mayonnaise. And you can also get French onion dip mix. And there are natural ones out there that just have ingredients you can recognize. And it's just a powder of like powdered onion and garlic and stuff. And I pour that into my yogurt as well. And I just put it in the fridge. And when I want to dip my veggies or whatever, that's what I use. Or my artichokes. I love artichokes. And so I'll now dip my artichokes in that. I don't know.
Great,
Am I doing
great,
good?
great input, Kim. Yeah. So there's many. I'll give you an example. So I love barbecue sauce. I've always loved barbecue sauce, And if I'm gonna use barbecue sauce, first of all, I should use a barbecue sauce that is healthy without a lot of sugar and other, crappy ingredients in there. But I should use the least amount to make an otherwise healthy, chicken breast, for example, more appealing. And so, whenever you can use, whenever you can use a condiment that's closer to nature, go for it. And if not, use the least amount possible.
I have one final question here. I know you have to run, but this one's interesting. We have a diabetic educator in our group. She's out of New York, and she was talking the other day about ice cream, and she said, if you are going to indulge, make sure it's just a couple of spoonfuls, and make sure it's Breyers, or I think it was Haagen-Dazs, where you can recognize the ingredients. Wanted to get your thoughts on that, just that in general. But number two is, we have Kevin L, who says, if I have a coconut milk ice cream that is only sweetened with honey and flavored with Madagascar vanilla, love the specificity, can I do that? And is there a best time to eat a small portion if and when I'm going to cheat?
Wow, great questions. I'm not sure if I've got the answers. So you want your So ice cream, traditional ice cream has a lot of dairy fat and sugar in it. That's what makes it so appealing and delicious. And so you can make it healthier by having the least amount. You can make it healthier by cutting down on the amount of animal fat from dairy fat. You can cut down on the amount of sugar in there. In the end, all your body recognizes, the amount of animal fat from dairy and sugar that you've just eaten, and so there are lots of ways to reduce those. And so you should enjoy ice cream once in a while. Not too often, not too much. And so it's really the amount, probably more than the ingredients, that really matters when it comes to those kinds of sugary, fatty treats.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Dansinger. Really appreciate your time. If anyone wants to join us every single week, we do have office hours live. Just email us at info@padhelp.org and we'll get you into the live stream. You can also, just in comments even here on this stream itself, put your questions in there and we will get to them next week when Dr. Dansinger joins us again and generously donates his time to be here to help all of you in between your appointments with your care team. But if you do reside in New York or Massachusetts or New Hampshire or Virginia or Minnesota or Florida, check your plans. If you have Medicare or Medicare Advantage PPO plans, they cover his diabetes reversal services. And then you have Dr. Dansinger every week helping you out and personalizing your choices. So definitely check that out. But thanks everyone for joining us. And thank you, Dr. Dansinger. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channels for more great content.
Thanks, everyone.